beautiful beings, soul family, tribe. At Giai Ariati, I don't often go live on Facebook anymore through the directive of my guidance. And Facebook is very much for me around sharing my writings and pieces of information around my work and supporting individuals that are ready to step into divine wealth. So I use it very much for a specific expression, and so if you follow me here and you don't follow me on any other channels, you might want to, because there are different categories or themes that I have on each of my socials and for each of my platforms to share a different message and to meet different audiences. But today I am live here today and I wanted to discuss a couple of the common themes that are going on at the moment and invite you, if it feels resonant, to come into our community for tomorrow morning's quantum remembering transmission, which is very specifically going to be on releasing and letting go of support and stepping into your own connection. Now, if you haven't followed me for a long period of time, my prime focus, my prime directive is to guide individuals into their own source connection. My only true desire is to help individuals heal enough that they can hear their own intuitive guidance, to help them develop their channel, to become stronger conduits, to become stronger in their connection and communion with God. And so everything that I do is based around coming into the remembrance of what one truly is and to support them to be able to navigate past the blocks of the human psyche to develop this connection which is always there. And so I work specifically around the human psyche in mind, body and soul, or consciousness, vessel and spirit. And I work in these very broad spectrum of consciousness because that's where we get complete results. That's where we get full transformation. And so I'm going to put a link. So if you are interested in the transmission that I'm going to be adding in tomorrow morning, I want to explain a little bit about what's taking place collectively and making sense of these current cycles. So for some of us, we've been in the thick of it for probably a good 12 months, and cycles of acceleration, cycles of intense purification. And there was a choice point that came up for the collective back in July of 2024, and there was a choice for beings that were not on their highest path, not in their soul's alignment or purpose for what they came here in this incarnation to sort of go, this is your last chance, jump on the bandwagon, jump on the train, we can do it, we can hold it. So we've been in a timeline hold. And what's really uncomfortable about a timeline hold is who holds the timeline? And you. So anyone who was already at a point, so I'd love you to reflect in this moment of time and see, where were you in July last year? What were you doing July last year? Were you ready to launch something new? Were you ready to create something? Were you about to travel? Were you developing a openness to connect in a relationship? Was there something that was really blossoming? Were you really ready to go full force ahead and you were ready? Well, that's what happened for many of us. We came to a point where we're like, yeah, not waiting for everyone else anymore. I'm going, I'm doing it. I'm going to create the mission, the empire, all of those that are choosing. We're going to choose together. And this was like rising. There was a lot around the feminine rising. There was a lot around, focus on creation. There was a lot around developing for the new earth. And this came up because so many of us decided we're not actually stopping and waiting anymore. We're just going to do it. And what happened by doing that, and which is one of the key things that I would like you to remember, is that when you choose to do it anyway, you provide the space for others to choose to come on the mission, on the purpose as well. And so when we chose to go, that opened a whole lot of space, a whole lot of releasing attachments to not leaving people behind, releasing attachments to trying to save people, rescue people, all of these different things that were blocking that space for those that were on the cusp of choosing, that were then able to choose. So this opportunity was made available, and it was a big consciousness shift. And so we've been moving through from July until now, so that's 11 months, and it's been a lot. It's been so much for all of us to experience. A lot of us don't know which way we're going. Our bodies are in a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of acceleration that's happened. This is because then in that space, a lot of souls that weren't choosing started to choose. A lot of souls that were in forgetfulness, or a lot of souls that had forgotten their path forward. A lot of beings that, thank you, Starlink. A lot of beings that were on the cusp of really moving forward were then able to transform and move forward really quickly and really fast, because there was a big momentum, a big acceleration point. And that's where this shift, or this split dimension of old Earth, new Earth, Gaia, Tara, whatever language you would like to say, there is two very different realities that are existing on the Earth. One has the old patriarchal constructs of experiencing, and that's all it is. It's an experience. I want to experience myself through karma. And then there's the new Earth structure. I want to experience myself through some form of unity, through ease and grace, through transformation, through forward focus. And the old Earth is backwards focus, everything that we've done in history and the origins, reconciliation. So this massive momentum and all of these new souls that came in, and we had a lot of walk-ins, we had a lot of different things that happened that provided so much new frequency, so much transformation, the Earth grids. And what's happening at this point in time is because we had a timeline hold. So I just want to explain that, what a timeline hold is, and what this relates to around the transmission that's going to be taking place tomorrow, very specifically on releasing support and reclaiming connection. So a timeline hold has happened many times through our history, and it's where there is a divine plan. There is a pre-planned juncture points. There are things that might be prophesized in the future that have then been seen, realized, and we go, okay, we need to actually push that back. Just like you would if you had a timeline for some kind of business plan or an event. Sometimes when you're not ready, you push it forward because you don't have enough tools. Maybe the venue isn't supportive, and there isn't one of your facilitators ended up stepping out, or something happens, right? Unforeseen circumstances happened. So you push the event date forward, and that is not something that we like doing, right? We don't enjoy doing that, but sometimes things happen that you are unawares that are going to unfold. And so the pushing forward means that, based on it being a collective experience, a collective choice to push something forward in a predetermined choice point, it means that those that held it instead of the acceleration of this timeline, basically like being suspended in space. So can you imagine a collective energy that's accelerating while simultaneously being suspended, has both polarities. So some of us are accelerating and some of us are in pause and hold. And it looks very confusing, and we dance between at different times to support each other, because you can't stay in holding for so long, because it becomes disruptive on the nervous system, it becomes really challenging on the neurological pathways. And what those holders are doing is they're at a point where over the last couple of months it's gotten to a point of, I can't do this anymore, I can't actually hold everyone, I can't support everyone. So you might be sitting in either, and there is no rightness or wrongness to either of these roles. We all play a big picture in this role, in this big transformative experience of Earth evolution. And so we've got holders, and the holders have basically put the timeline on hold. Now, how do you do that in a physical experience? You use your physical vessel, because your physical vessel is the conduit. So those that have chosen to hold this timeline to support the others to accelerate and speed through, so container, we could call it the masculine and the feminine if you like. You've got the container and you've got the energy. So some of us have chosen to be a container to hold the timeline, while the others have chosen, I need to purify, I need to drastically, quickly purify myself, realign myself, I've forgotten, and there's this huge amount of work that's taking place. And we're now coming to the end of that trajectory, which means those that have been supported, because the people that are holding have been holding through their physicality, holding. I actually physically can't hold anymore. This is going to cause me physical damage. And those that are accelerating are going, I actually can't keep evolving anymore because I'm becoming mentally unstable. That's what happens, right? If you can't evolve, that is so damaging to the nervous system, because when you are evolving and you're going quick, next thing, next dimension, next wound, next whatever it is, and you're doing this fast, quick transformation, your nervous system doesn't get a chance to recalibrate, your heart doesn't get a chance to find natural great peace. And so this transformation has become very detrimental for those roles that are playing. And so we've got a lot of physical that needs to be restructured. We've got the holders that need to go, actually, it's not my responsibility to do this. It was helpful. Now it is enabling. Now it is no longer supportive. Now I need to give back all of the things that I've been supporting with, whatever that is. Maybe you've been holding light for another being until they were ready. Maybe you've been literally holding at levels of the quantum field in place so that it doesn't move. Maybe you are one of the beings that is, okay, yes, we're not going to let this grid point move, because if it does, we're going to cause some earthquakes. So we're going to hold it until everyone else is ready. And then those that are accelerating are coming into a point where they actually need to regain their own connection, because they've had so much support. Some of the holders have also been alchemizers, purifiers, transformers. They've literally taken on consciousness, and this is something that we do for each other. I've done it many times, and I've had others do it for me. Take on a past life and purify it through their own vessel, and then hand it back purified, and you can integrate it through remembrance now. Right? So this is literally, we are swapping consciousnesses all of the time. It helps develop, we help to learn, we learn our gifts, and we learn our capacity, we see our power. It's so amazing. It really is so amazing. But it becomes limiting. Everything is positive and negative, and something works until it no longer works. And so right now, there is some huge things showing up collectively. And my invitation is, as you're receiving this, to go, what do I need to do? What am I aware of? Because it becomes a push and pull dynamic. And push and pull is a toxicity that creates a lot of turbulence, chaos, and pain. Well, when it is that, it becomes painful. It becomes so exhausting that you're like, I can't actually cycle this again. I can't do this again. And that's what starts to come up. So I'll speak to the accelerators at the moment, and we're just going to label them one. There's a lot of subcategories, right? So you could say just the accelerators is one expression, but we have many subcategories in that. The ones that have chosen to accelerate, to purify, to evolve, to transform, to embody more frequency, light, and vibration than what they were. That's the simplistic of it. Now, these beings are going into a point where they are being asked to find their own connection, find their own power, find their own soul purpose, find their own mission, find their own intuitive guidance, find their own God connection, find their own arrival point, right? So it's an arrival point. Now, as a quantum healer, as someone who assists people to remember, as my main mission is, come into who you are. I can support you, I can hold space, I can sit with you, but I can't do it for you. And there becomes a point in my journey as a mentor and a support being in this transformative journey that I get guided to say, you can't help anymore. You can't help anymore, because you then become enabling. And that's really uncomfortable for the individual that has usually become a little bit codependent. And it doesn't matter how much you tell the initiate, it doesn't matter how much you remind them that they need to find their answers, that they need to go within, you ask them questions, they do become self-reliant on their mentor, on their coach, on their healer. And so for every good healer, for every good mentor, there is times where you're like, you're on your own. Now, that feels like abandonment. Now that abandonment is the best fucking thing that can ever happen to someone. When you feel like you're left alone, when you feel like no one's there for you and you've done all of this work, all of this transformation, all of this evolution, and you land in a point where no one's got your back, you do. Only you and God. Just you and your connection to the infinite intelligence within. And so when that happens, the initiate or the accelerator, the one that's been the student or whatever you want to call that, has a chance to rise. Now, sometimes they will rise, sometimes they will fall. That is consciousness. Sometimes they're going to go, yeah, I can absolutely do this. I remember this. I've got enough tools. Other times they're going to get angry. They're going to go through a death process. They're going to go through a dissension, and they're going to fall. And this means that what's happening right now is choices. And those that have been holding, you've got to be prepared for that individual that is either going to rise or fall. And you are not responsible. You have given your energy, you've given your support, you've given your information, you've given the pathways, and then you have to go, I can't do the rest for you, right? I can't tell you or show you how to surrender to God. That is up to you, right? These moments, these profound moments of shifting from, say, a point of separation consciousness into unity consciousness, or a point of fragmentation into God remembrance, full transcendence, no one can facilitate that for you. Absolutely no one. You can give the pathways, the frameworks, the guidance, the messages, the words you can say inside out, upside down, but it takes the person to choose faith over fear. So faith over fear for the accelerators. That's what you're being asked. When you feel abandoned, when you feel alone, when this time comes for you, if you're the one evolving, remembering this beautiful face that says faith over fear. And how can you find that in those moments of the depths of destruction? How can you open to the faith that is unknown? You have no reference points, you have no markers, you will not know what the fuck you're doing because you're not meant to. That's what faith is. And faith is the only thing. All the stories, all of the thoughts, all of the things that are moving through you will bring you into that next step. Otherwise, you're going to loop. You'll fall and you're going to go through the loop, the karmic cycle once again. You're going to find yourself at a point where you get to surrender again, and then you're going to end up separating and distracting and making excuses, right? Because that's how it works. That's what this cycle, this is the human condition. The human condition, literally, you will be stuck in human consciousness and the human narrative until you recognize that that's what it is. No matter what identity, no matter what wound, no matter what story, no matter what justification or experience, it is connection separation, which is suffering or love, suffering or God, whatever you want to call it. It's a choice of separation or connection. And the karmic loop and this cycle is based on the addiction to suffering, the addiction to disconnection, and the addiction to finding connection once again, right? High highs, low lows, high highs, low lows. That is every addiction pattern you've ever seen. Every toxic relationship, every substance, every mental looping. Oh, I problem solved it. Oh, I can't find the problem. I can't find the solution. I'm in anxiety. I'm mentally overloading, right? That is everything. Over and over and over and over and over until you give it up. You cannot step out of the human condition until you decide to give this addiction cycle of connection, disconnection, connection, disconnection up. And it's a trauma loop. That's what it is. The ultimate human trauma loop. So that's that. So that's the accelerators. That's where you're being asked. There's an arrival point. You need to remember faith over fear so that you can step out of the loop of connection, disconnection, suffering. Now, for the holders, really you're no different, right? You're a polarity. You've convinced yourself you've convinced yourself that you need to do it for them. You've convinced yourself they're not ready. You've convinced yourself that you need to hold on to the timeline, the earth grids, the ethereal expression, whatever it is. You need to stop, pause. You need to ensure that everyone catches up, whatever it is. Whatever your internal story is as to why you're holding, why you're causing yourself suffering. But remember what created the cycle to begin with. The cycle was created back in July because we got sick of holding. We got sick of waiting, and we decided we'd accelerate forward. We stopped enabling and we started creating, and there was a beautiful few months of creation before we realized that all of that creation opened an opportunity for rising, and we re-entered that cycle. We re-entered the cycle, me included. Some of us chose it consciously, some of us unconsciously, right? The cycle of, oh, but I can support a little more. I can wait a little more. We can stop God's plan a little more. We can ensure that everyone's healing a little more. I don't want to give up this relationship. I don't want to do this. If I move forward and I don't look back, then I miss out on these things. No. That's an illusion. That's an illusion of the separate mind. The illusion is that you believed through some expression of false light narrative that you needed to do this for others because they were not capable on their own. Because they were not as connected, because they were not as intelligent, not as wise, not as knowledgeable. That's playing God, my friends. So we have an opportunity for those that are playing God in all of their different ways to stop playing God and to give God's energy, choice, guidance back, because you can't play God. No one is as powerful and amazing as the one creator of all things, right? And so this recognition of where God is being played that's causing you pressure in your neurology, in your somatics, in your tethering, this is the same. Playing God is a suffering cycle. Choosing to be the one that, oh my gosh, I've received all of these downloads and information, I have to share them on social media. Or I've had so many plant medicine ceremonies that all of a sudden I know all of the ins and outs of the universe and I'm going to channel them to everyone who's in my space. That might not be God's message for you. That might not be the integrity of your truth. You can channel from up here. You can channel from here. You can channel from here. You can channel that is not in the center of the unification of your being, that is actually God's sacred heart's desire for you and for your human being. So just because you can channel light codes or you can be an infinite channel of consciousness, someone like Bashar, doesn't mean it's unified, doesn't mean it's godly. Doesn't mean it's sending people into more unification, self-empowerment. Doesn't. But you only know that when you find the integrity of truth within. You will only know that. You will only know people, and you will only be able to receive the truth when you stop playing God and you step into the center of your heart. You start to listen. And so these holders, that's the message. Why are you playing God? Why are you trying to say that someone else can't get to the point that you can? Why do you think that your knowledge is more important than their own internal information? Why is it that you think the pathway you're providing for them is clearer, purer, more definitive? So these are for the healers, the shamans, the conduits, the light languages, whatever labels we want to call the spiritual community that are in some kind of leadership, mentoring role. Every single one of you is playing God at the moment. Every single one of you. So where is it that this false light expression is showing up that isn't allowing the balance point? So there's a couple of things that are really present and necessary for us. And so how does this quantum remembering transmission work? These transmissions in our community come from the 0 point, not from how I'm talking right now, which is all of the different layers, right? All of the different layers. From the 0 point to the higher dimensions. Why do I talk like this? Why am I embodied in so many expressions? Now, some people would say it's ego. It's okay. I don't mind triggering the ego a little. But I am talking from all dimensions and all octaves so that I can express in resonance to as many different interpretations as possible. That means my language moves up and down the spiral. And the words I use will be triggering or activating or resonating to certain individuals. And this is so I can serve the whole. This is so I can serve humanity. This is so I can express in as many different ways, even if you don't understand what I'm saying. And this provides us the ability to be able to recognize ourselves through a mirror. Some of the things I'm going to say is going to make sense. Some of it isn't. Maybe all of it will resonate. Maybe only parts of it will. That's perfect. Because it's about what you need. It's about the pieces. It might be one word. It might be one sentence. It might be one thing that goes, ooh, I needed to hear that. Because that's what it's about. It's about mirroring to each other God's message, God's word, the truth, integrity, authenticity. And as this is taking place, you get to hear me through all of this fun, playful human expression of consciousness. But in a 0 point quantum transformation or remembering transmission, which will be happening tomorrow, which is Brisbane, Wednesday, 5 a.m. We do them every single Wednesday, and then we do fortnightly earth healings and transformations. Reciprocity, give, receive, as above, so below. And with this, we are speaking from the 0 point. Now, the 0 point of consciousness is very different to how I'm speaking to you right now. That means being nothingness and allowing the spark to come through the nothingness to express and communicate the word, and taking individuals into their 0 point. Now, what happens when you're in the 0 point? You have no resistance. If you're guided into a 0 point experience, you can rewire, recalibrate, and transform your consciousness so fast. Because there is no story there, there is no division point there, there is no expression there. All there is full receiving. Your body goes into DMT production, your nervous system relaxes, you're able to receive frequency and vibration that you otherwise couldn't receive. No codes needed when you're channeling direct from the 0 point. No expression of interpretation, because the inner remembrance and the allness of you remembers, and it recalibrates your being. And so this transmission will be very specifically aimed at these two sects. Masculine, feminine, positive, negative, separate, connected. Not even true, right? They're all just stories. They're all separation. You can't label any one of you as one expression, because you are a multifaceted, multi-dimensional being. But as a human being, you have the maximum of 3 focus lenses, because you're in a 3-dimensional reality. So that's the best that you can do. I know God can do a lot better than that. Sees all, bees all, omnipresence. So in this awareness, it's about coming in and deciding, am I ready? Am I ready to stop playing God? To deconstruct the support. Support, if you feel support as a vibrational frequency, as a tonality, support actually means that there's something wrong, that there's something that needs support, that there's something that needs changing. Support means to hold something up. Now, we know that it can be really beautiful to support people. It can be really beautiful to be held. But there is still a level of, if I don't support, something bad will happen. If I don't support, something wrong will occur. If I don't support, they will get hurt, right? So there's a mother-child energy there. There is a holding, a protecting. Now, that child needs to grow. That child needs to find out for themselves. That child needs to cry. That child needs empowered to get up and to walk or run after it's fallen over. Holding is only helpful for a period of time. To regulate the nervous system, to remember connection, to provide love, to encourage. And so the trinity of mother, father, child that is being presented, whether you're sitting in the mother energy, the father energy, or whether you're in the child, but guess what? You're in all of them, all of the time. It just depends where your focus is at the moment. It's allowing for the support structures to be deconstructed. That's actually important. We need to deconstruct the support. We need to step away from giving all of our energy in healing, in mentoring, sharing our message when we're tired, all of those things. And for those accelerating, it's time to be empowered. It's time to see yourself as the kid that fell off your bike and you're like, fuck yes, I'm going to keep going until I get this. I don't care how many times I'm going to fall, I'm going to ride my bike. That's what's happening. And so in this quantum remembering transmission, we will deconstruct the paradigms, the thought forms, the constructs, and the multidimensional synapses that move through the 4 quadrants of the human psyche to ensure the most likely possibility and alignment, that when those times come in your human experience, that you can listen to hear and not to hear, not to emotional overwhelm, not to spiritual bypass, not to story, but to that inner intelligence within. Because it's time. It's time. And that means that we all need to hear. What happens when we don't listen? It is painful. We learn through suffering. We learn through contrast. And we learn through that of the separation point until we're willing to listen in another way. So please join us tomorrow, Brisbane Standard Time, 5 a.m. in our community for this transmission. It is a $36 sacred exchange a month to receive all of the current transmissions, so many in there, as well as those that are poignant and important as a weekly influx of frequency, information, and recalibration. I love you. I hope you enjoyed this very quirky and fun, well, I had fun, message. And yeah, I would love to see you in our group. Mwah.